The Underland Chronicles is a critically acclaimed series of 5 epic fantasy novels by Suzanne Collins, first published between 2003 and 2007. It tells the story of a boy named Gregor and his adventures in the Underland, a subterranean world located under New York City. The Underland is inhabited by humans who traveled below hundreds of years ago, along with various giant versions creatures like bats, cockroaches, and rats. According to the author, the series involves many topics relating to war, including biological warfare, genocide, and military intelligence. While not as well known as the author's subsequent Hunger Games trilogy, it has been reviewed favorably by many critics. Books. Gregor the Overlander 11-year-old Gregor and his 2-year-old sister Boots fall through a vent in their apartment basement and find themselves in a strange place called the Underland, inhabited by giant animals and pale humans. The Underlanders name Gregor the warrior, and Boots the princess of a prophecy written hundreds of years ago by their founder, Bartholomew of Sandwich. Gregor must go on a quest mentioned in the prophecy to save his lost father, a POW in a war between the humans and the Norse. Gregor and the prophecy of Bane Gregor is caught up in one of Bartholomew of Sandwich's prophecies once again when Underlanders kidnap his baby sister for her protection, and he reluctantly returns to their subterranean world. The Regalians convince him to embark on a quest to kill a dangerous rat called the Bane whom both the rats and humans believe will lead the Norse to conquer the Underland. Along the way, Gregor struggles to come to terms with the death of several friends. A newly discovered and very terrifying talent. And the morality of what the Underlanders have asked him to do. Gregor and the Curse of the Warmbloods When Nerissa hands Gregor a new prophecy, he knows that he has to go back to the Underland. But that is certainly not okay with his mother. She decides to come with him. They go through the grate in the laundry room only to find that a plague has come into the Underland. His mom then becomes infected with the plague, so she must be treated in the Underland, so Gregor and the Regalians must quest to find the cure. They go to find it in the Underland's jungle. At the entrance, they meet Hamnet, a man who left Regalia years ago after a great tragedy, Hazard, his half-Anders son who can speak to animals, and Frill, their giant lizard friend. They head into the jungle that is full of flesh-eating plants, poisonous animals, and no fresh water for miles around. In the jungle, they find Queen Luxxa, who was thought to be dead. She was helped by the nibblers. When the group finds the cure, it is destroyed by ants. The group finally realizes that they need to go back to Regalia because someone created the plague, intending to use it against the Norse, but Ares the flyer catches the disease. Gregor and the Marks of Secret The Bane takes control of the Norse, and Gregor and his friends must fight to stop him. Gregor falls in love with Luxxa. They sneak out of Regalia and find that the Norse have driven the nibblers out of the jungle and the fount. They follow a tunnel under the river to the Firelands, where the mice have been driven. But the air is toxic, there are dozens of volcanoes, and they soon find more giant creatures waiting to kill them. The prophecy is called the Prophecy of Secrets because the Marks of Secrets led it to them. Gregor and the Code of Claw The prophecy in the story is the prophecy of time. It says that the Underlanders must break the cipher called the Code of Claw in order for humanity to survive. He also has to fight the fully grown Bane and loses his flyer, Ares, while defeating the Norse. Gregor's attraction and consequent relationship to Luxxa increases, going as far as them telling each other "I love you," and kissing. Main characters. Gregor is a 12-year-old overlander who fell into the Underland while chasing his sister Boots. He is the warrior described in Bartholomew of Sandwich's prophecies. Although he is reluctant, Gregor eventually accepted his duties to the Underland. In the Underland, Gregor's appearance is markedly different from that of the Underlanders. Gregor's little sister, Boots, is noted to have dark skin, which requires much light. However, an Underlander remarked on this, and since they have translucent skin, Gregor described Luxxa as a walking circulatory system. We don't know how dark Gregor's skin really is. Over the year that he has spent in the Underland, he has bonded with his own flyer and fulfilled several prophecies. He is a rager, someone whose senses become chronically acute in battle, while his mind becomes oblivious to anything except himself and his target. Ripraid, also a rager, helps Gregor to accept his gift and learn how to control them better in the third book. In the fifth book, Gregor learns echolocation, a valuable skill for fighting in the dark. Although he states that he hates fighting, Luxxa saw him smiling during a fight with Twisters, which was likely a side effect of his rager reaction to battle. Gregor is in love with Luxxa, his feelings beginning to surface in the end of the fourth book, Marks of Secret. When returning to the Overland at the end of the Code of Claw, he swears never to forget her. Luxxa is the future ruling queen of Regalia. She is the same age as Gregor and will assume full royal powers when she becomes 16 years old. Until then, Regalia is led by a regency council, referred to simply as the council. Having lived in the Underland her whole life, Luxxa's skin is so pale as to be nearly translucent, her hair is silver in color, and she has violet eyes, like all Underland humans. Luxxa is incredibly stubborn and rebellious, rarely obeying the council and, in Ripraid's words, impossible to lead anywhere. In Book 3, however, Gregor said that she was the bravest person he had ever known. Luxxa is a wise leader, but can be sharp-tongued towards others. This changes, however, after the conclusion of Gregor the Overlander, when she took a more positive attitude to her companions. She feels indebted to the Nibblers for the hospitality they showed her when they found her lost in the middle of the jungle. She has vowed to protect the Nibblers, even going as far as declaring war on the Norse. In the final book, she brings peace between the Norse and the humans by bonding with Ripraid, the representative for the Norse at the time. Essentially swearing to protect the Norse. Ripraid swears likewise to Luxxa to protect the humans. Luxxa is in love with Gregor, starting most likely at the middle of Marks of Secret. The two shared their first kiss in the museum in the last book, from which Gregor retrieves things he may need, such as flashlights, when they say goodbye. To keep her safe during the War of Time, Gregor throws her in the dungeon because she was trying to go back to battle. The books also mentions Luxxa's parents being killed by the late Nor King Gorga, resulting in Luxxa's insecurity on the ground, and her bonding with Aurora when she was very young. Her name is possibly derived from the word lux, which means light in Latin. Ares, introduced as the bondmate of Henry, Luxxa's royal cousin, he chooses to save Gregor over Henry in face of Henry's betrayal in the first book. He is put on trial in Regalia for betraying his bondmate, and Gregor bonds with him because he knew that Ares had not known anything about Henry's conspiracy to seize power. In the remaining books, Ares is thought of lowly by many Regalians. In the third book, he is a victim of an artificial plague, but begins to heal after receiving the cure. He was likely the strongest flyer in the Underland, possibly lending to his name, referring the Greek god of war. He has admitted that he sometimes doubts the truth in the prophecies which form a central thread of the plot, on the grounds that they are full of doom and only terrorize the Underlanders into killing each other, as revealed in the final book, Code of Claw. He dies in the fight against Bane. In the hospital, we see his claw is all that Gregor has left of him. Ripraid is a Nor who is one of the few of his species on the side of regalia and peace. He speaks with a biting wit and a world-weary air. Although many creatures resent him for this, Ripraid shows much wisdom in times of need. In the first book, Gregor the Overlander, Vickers told Gregor that he had wisdom unique in any creature. He is a great fighter, and, like Gregor, is a rager, but has a tighter rein on his powers. He gives Gregor lessons on echolocation to learn to fight in the dark. Ripraid's highest moral value is mutual need. In the first book, he told Gregor, mutual need is a strong bond. Stronger than friendship, stronger than love. He receives a scar from Solovit before his decision that the war between humans and Norse must end. Howard is Luxxa's older cousin from the Fount. He is about 16 years old. His father is ruler of the Fount. He was introduced to Gregor in the second book with his younger siblings, Stelovit, Kent, Hero, and Chim. Luxxa originally dislikes the entire family, but eventually realizes that Howard is a great comrade and handy medic. Howard was infected and later cured of the curse of the Warmbloods. He later joined Gregor and Luxxa on their quest to learn the truth of the Nibbler's destiny. It is speculated that Howard might bond to Nike. During the fourth book, Howard expresses interest in becoming a doctor, and can actually treat minor to medium wounds, such as broken legs and arms, and some cuts. He is also very skilled with sedatives. Under possibly the guidance of another doctor, he helps Gregor when Gregor's lower left back ribs are thrown out of place. He also disapproves of Gregor and Luxxa's relationship at first, but warms up to it in the fifth book when he finds a picture of Luxxa and Gregor in Gregor's pocket. Solovit is a warmongering leader of Regalia and Luxxa's, see above, grandmother. She is married to Vicus, see below, and is a major believer in the war between the Norse and the humans. In Book 3, she causes the curse of the Warmbloods by having a disease genetically engineered and was supposed to be spread to the Norse when it was accidentally spread to Ares, see above. She dies in the fifth book in a Nor ambush. Vicus is the more peace-loving leader of Regalia and Luxxa's grandfather. He is married to Solovit and just wants all of the fighting to stop and to have peace in the Underland. Vicus does not agree with Solovit on practically any issue, and he often referred to the Earl of Sandwich's prophecies. He was not killed in Book 5. Symbolism equals the Holocaust and the Bane equals, in the fourth book, Gregor and the Marks of Secret. The Bane parallels Adolf Hitler in the sense that they are both charismatic speakers who are intent on genocide. For Hitler it was Jews and for the Bane it was nibblers. In addition to that, both the Bane and Hitler were able to rally full support for their cause by blaming the wrongs done to them on their selected victims. Another link between the content of Gregor and the Marks of Secret and Nazi Germany is the method of killing their victims used by both the Norse and the Nazis. Both the Norse and Nazis used poisonous gases to their advantage. For the Nazis it was in concentration camps and for the Norse it was in the Fire Lands. Even with these shared characteristics between the Bane and Hitler, the Bane was given the name Purpelt by his mother. This name reflects his coat's white color and the way other colors can be seen in the light in it, but it may also be wordplay by the author on Pol Pot. Greek mythology equals. Bat names. All of the bats' names were taken from Greek mythology. Many of the names are relevant to the bat's position or importance. Hermes, the messenger flyer, named for the Greek messenger god. Nike, the flyer's princess. Nike is also the winged Greek goddess of victory. In later books, she becomes close to Howard and a potential bond after Pandora. Euripides, Vicus Bond, Greek tragedian. Pandora, Howard's first bond, named for the Greek figure blamed for the release of misery into the world. Both paid for their curiosity. Ares, Gregor's bond, is an enormous bat with a talent for fighting, named for the Greek god of war. Originally, he was Henry's bond until Henry's death. He dies in Gregor and the Code of Claw. Aurora, Luxxa's bond, ancient Roman goddess of the dawn. Andromeda, Marith's bond, figure of Greek myth rescued by Perseus. Ajax, Solovit's bond, Greek hero, character in Homer's Iliad. Athena, queen of the flyers, Greek goddess of wisdom and strategy. Thalia, Hazard's would-be bond and lover of jokes, Greek muse of comedy. Icarus, Greek figure of myth, attached feathers to his back with hot wax but flew too close to the sun. At this, the wax melted, and he drowned in the ocean. The flyer Icarus fell from the sky with a plague into the arena and was killed upon impact. Daedalus, a member of the code-breaking team. In Greek mythology, a skilled artisan and father of Icarus. Also a very intelligent human being, capable of building many things, or destroying many things. Other Greek associations, Tantalus, for whom is named the Arch of Tantalus, was a Greek king who was punished in the mythological afterlife for killing his son and feeding him to the gods. Hades, after whom is named the Hades Hall, was the Greek god that ruled the underworld. Garden of the Hesperides, in the name of the nymphs who cared for a tree that bore golden apples capable of bestowing immortality in the corner of the earth. Tartarus, the location of the final battle between the Killers and the Norse, is a name for the darkest depths of the underworld. The Underland, Bonding equals, Underland humans developed the tradition known as bonding shortly after their arrival in the Underland, and have put it into constant use since then. When two creatures bond, they are bound together forever through a formal promise to defend the other. In the dangerous environment of the Underland, this is a coveted and extremely serious relationship. The punishment for forsaking a bondmate, referred to as one's bond, is banishment alone in the Dead Lands, which means almost certain death. Very rarely, one can be bonded to more than one creature. In Luxxa's case, she was able to bond to both Ripray the Gnawer and Aurora the Flyer. Each of a pair of bonding creatures must recite an oath in front of an official gathering, which is often followed by a celebration. The oath goes as follows: bondmate's name, I bond to you. Our life and death are one, we two. In dark, in flame, in war, in strife, I save you as I save my life. Tree of transmission equals, the tree of transmission is a visual representation of the Underland equivalent of Morse code, that is a method of transmitting information over long distances using repeating patterns. The code has no official name, as it is the only code to have been created by humans, rats, mice, spiders, crawlers, and bats together. It is very similar to Morse code, but with a few important differences. The first is that it is only transmitted with sound, usually through the stone of underground tunnels, while Morse code can also be used by switching a source of light or electricity on and off. This is because of the code's use of three distinct sounds, while Morse code differentiates symbols only through the length of transmission. The other main difference from the Overland code is the lack of number symbols. The tree of transmission is so named because of one of the humans' ways of representing it. In the code room of the Regalian Palace, there is a wall carving showing the letters of the alphabet as branches off of each of the three main sounds. For example, if one heard a scratch followed by a tap, one would start at A and then move to the right on the chart to reach the letter D, and so forth. If one heard a scratch and then a click, on the other hand, one would start at A and move left to reach B. When viewed from a distance, the chart looks somewhat like a tree, hence the name. The code can also be represented more like a traditional Morse code chart, and is carved like this onto the floor of the code room. This form of the chart is reproduced below. The Code of Claw. During the fifth book, the Gnawers developed something called the Code of Claw. This code is not the same one referred to by the Tree of Transmission, though it is usually transmitted using the Underlanders' version of Morse code. The Gnawers is actually a cipher which uses an anagram of the word Gregor, Gorger, or Gore, each easily remembered by the rat armies, to make it more difficult to crack. In this code, each letter is shifted one over in the alphabet, except for the letters in the secret word, which stay the same. A becomes B, B becomes C, C becomes D, and so on. G, O, R, and E remain the same. This code is of great importance to the plot of Gregor and the Code of Claw because of its mention in the Prophecy of Grey and its usefulness to the human war effort. Locations equals, Regalia, the human city founded by Bartholomew of Sandwich. The city's location is highly coveted for its strategic value and natural resources, and was first won by the humans in a war against the Diggers. The city consists of numerous stone buildings covered in intricate carvings, a series of fields lit by natural gas lamps, an arena for training and sports, and a palace. The palace, a stronghold within the city of Regalia which houses the royal family, government officials and their meeting chambers, an armory, a museum of overland artifacts, a code room, and the city hospital. The palace is equipped with hot and cold running water and is accessible to both bats and humans. It is used as a last resort stronghold during times of attack. It is also implied that children from throughout the city gather there for tutoring. The arena, a stadium-like structure consisting of a moss-covered field surrounded by rows of stone seats. There is a pair of extremely heavy stone doors on one side of the arena, and the entrances to some tunnels on the other. Both exits are guarded by clouds of moths. Human and bat sentries are trained to detect changes in the insect's flight pattern which indicate that something has passed through them. The arena is used mainly as a place to gather large numbers of creatures, and also for training and games. The Fount, the humans' other main stronghold, governed by York. The Fount houses a hospital and a colony of nibblers, and is hinted to border a large water source of some kind. The Swag, a passage under the waterway which connects Hades Hall to the Fount. It is filled with water after an earthquake in Gregor and the Marks of Secret. The Firelands, an area filled with numerous active volcanoes. Much of the rock there is volcanic, and the air is often filled with poisonous gases and/or ash. The rats take advantage of these natural features to punish their prisoners. For example, Ripraid is imprisoned in an obsidian pit too slick to escape, and the entire population of the jungle nibbler colony is executed by apparent carbon monoxide poisoning near to one of the volcanoes. Hades Hall, a long passageway that goes very deep into the earth, which connects the Firelands to the Swag. The Shiners colony is located within, near to the Swag, as well as a series of tunnels which serve to channel the current's unusual wind currents which, in moderation, allow overlanders to arrive safely in Regalia but also pose a serious threat to bats at full force. The Waterway, an enormous underground ocean into which all other underland water sources lead. The water there is salty and the waves and wind currents produce a breeze which is enough to propel sailing ships. The Tankard, a deep, water-filled chasm where the serpents hibernate in preparation for their mating season. It borders the Labyrinth. The Dead Land, land currently controlled by the Norse. It consists primarily of a series of tunnels, caverns, and cliffs and is almost entirely devoid of life. It is said that very few creatures can survive alone in this hostile environment. Ripraid's nest is located somewhere near to or within the Dead Land, and is where the rat twitch-tip is first discovered. The Labyrinth, a huge maze of tunnels controlled by the rats. Though it is technically their territory, few rats venture in because of its general lack of resources and confusing terrain, making it a safe haven of sorts for outcasts like Twitch-tip and an excellent hiding place for the Bane. The Jungle, an expanse of vines and other plants which grow above a series of streams lit by volcanic vents. These vents provide light for plants and heat for cold-blooded creatures such as hissers and twisters, though they also make nearly all water in the jungle unfit to drink. A colony of nibblers resides in a small section near a clean spring where the plants are harmless. A large group of twisters takes over this land when the nibblers are driven out by the Norse. The Arch of Tantalus, an entrance to the jungle, where the characters Frill, Hamnet, and Hazard are first encountered. It is known for the large number of skeletons that collect inexplicably in the vicinity, and is named for the mythological figure Tantalus. The Vineyard of Eyes, an extremely dangerous section of the jungle where the plants have evolved special perfumes and other physical characteristics to lure in passers-by. Travelers report seeing eyes blinking at them from among the vines, though it is unclear whether these belong to the plants themselves. Quien's Head, a rock formation which looks vaguely like the head of a woman wearing a crown. It is west of Regalia and serves as one of the humans' territory boundaries. The Garden of the Hesperides, a plain of soil made highly fertile by the regular flooding of a local river and named for the mythological garden of the same name. Bartholomew of Sandwich planted golden apple trees there which spread and remained healthy for generations. During a time of peace, the humans gifted this orchard to the rats, and it became a sort of vacation spot for them and their pups. Much later, under the orders of Sir Ovid, a force of human soldiers led by Hamnet attempted to retake the garden. The rats fought back, which led the humans to open a nearby dam so their enemies would have to swim. The ancient structure could not take the water's weight and crumbled instead, and the resulting flood drowned hundreds of rats, humans, and bats. Among the dead were Hamnet's bond and Ripraid's mate and pups. Tartarus, the darkest part of the Underland, named for the ancient Greek mythological abyss in primordial being Tartarus. The Uncharted Lands, a part of the Underland that is almost entirely unexplored by any species, because of its distance, danger, and lack of resources. During times of war, it has generally been the goal of each aggressor species to drive the others into this area. References. External links, Suzanne Collins' homepage.